Hello. Looks like the video is waiting to start. Okay, perfect. I believe we are all good now. Hi everyone. Happy Thursday. Hope you're all having a good week. It might be a busy week before the holiday, but I hope everyone's hanging in there. I know it's a busy time for therapists. So, welcome to this week's video where I'm going to talk about marketing your therapy intensives, making sure you're attracting all the right clients, the clients that you want to be working with. So, I'm going to dive into some information just here in a moment. If you are new to this group, if you are new to watching these videos, just to introduce myself real quick, my name is Amanda. I am a licensed psychologist in Oregon and Washington. I've been in private practice for a couple years now and have started incorporating intensives within the past year and just saw every way that they completely transformed my practice in terms of getting me the income that I really need. Pacific Northwest is very expensive. You might also have high expenses like student loans or rent and mortgage or anything else. So not only does this impact you positively financially, but it can also help you to work less hours so that we're not risking more therapists being burnt out. It also helps you do better clinical work. So I'm excited to talk with you all about intensives. So if you are here live, feel free to say hi in the chat. Let me know where you're coming in from. Let me know if there's any questions you want to make sure I answer during this time together. If you are catching the replay, also feel free to introduce yourself and where you are and let me know if you have questions that I will make sure I get back to, even though it won't be live, it just will be recorded. So all of you probably have a sense around intensives. There's a reason you are here. You are interested in, working differently in some way. And again, the motivations for that might be different. If that is, I want to find a way to work differently. I want a different kind of income stream because intensives are still therapy. It's still a therapy income stream, but it doesn't rely on the holidays are coming up, so everyone's canceling, rescheduling, no showing, stuff like that. Like it doesn't have the same kind of financial impact as weekly therapy there. Hi, Angelica, welcome. So when we think about intensives, it is another income stream. It's another way to just work differently for those of you who like variety in your work, depending on the clinical population you work with. Sometimes intensives just fit their schedule better, or sometimes fits their clinical presentation better. I work with a lot of complex trauma and people can be very, rightfully so, guarded, even in a therapy session, and it takes a while to build up trust. And so having a therapy intensive allows more time to actually build some of that trust up, do some of that processing. So there's a lot of really good motivations to do therapy intensives, and clients really benefit from them as well. People who have been struggling with the same thing or things for weeks, months, years, decades can see so much shift in such a short period of time. So there are definitely people out there looking for intensives. And so part of why we're talking about how to effectively market your intensives is how do you get those people who are just already looking for them, because they are definitely looking for them. So that's what we're talking about here today. If you see me looking over here on this side of the screen, I'm just referencing my notes to make sure I cover everything I plan on covering. So when it comes to marketing your intensives, I want you to think about what are you already doing for marketing? Like, what does marketing mean for you? Marketing for some people means I'm networking with other therapists, I've got it on my website, I'm promoting it on social media, I have flyers that I'm posting in local Facebook groups. All of those things are examples of marketing. So part of what I also want to talk about in this topic is I want you to market in the way that makes most sense to you and in the way that is most effective for you, because it's not realistic and it's not sustainable for you to say, I'm going to market something in every way you could possibly market something, because then you're going to burn out on marketing and maybe you might be close to burnout on your clinical work, and I don't want that for you. So I'm going to talk through some ideas of different ways to market, and I want you to think about one or two things that really resonate with you that you want to experiment with, see if you like it, see if you hate it, and never want to do it again. So I'll talk about different ideas, and then I'll talk about different things that I think everyone should do. So, what are you already doing for marketing? What does marketing mean for you? Those are two things to consider. But two, when it comes to marketing generally, we know that no matter what you do, marketing is all about how do you get the word out there. No one's going to book a therapy intensive if they don't know that you offer a therapy intensive. So, however you get the word out there with networking, with flyers on your website, on social media, just make sure it's out there. I've seen some people even just commit to, a page on their website that says coming soon, therapy intensives. Like, that's a way to get the word out there. You don't have to have the website page fully flushed out yet, but some people will see your website and see, what's that thing, right? They may not come back to your website necessarily if they're needing something now and they don't know what coming soon actually means. But if they do schedule a consultation call with you, they can ask, what is a therapy intensive? What's that thing that's coming soon? Or when you are on a consultation call, even for just someone who's looking for routine therapy, you can say, by the way, I know we're talking about setting up weekly appointments, every other week appointments. I'm also getting ready to start incorporating some therapy intensives in my practice. Would you be curious to learn more about that? Some people might say, no. Some people will say, sure. Some people will be like, oh yeah, I was curious about that. Tell me more about that. So, right, it's just putting the word out there, letting people know it's a thing that exists. So that's number one. Other options that you have is if you are currently in private practice. I know some people are gearing up towards launching their practice, but if you are currently active in practice, you have a current caseload, your current clients are a really great, pool to draw from in that sense. You already know who's struggling with the weekly sessions, who's not getting enough out of their 45, 50, 60-minute appointments, who's saying, like, man, I just wish we could meet for longer. Who are you having a hard time wrapping up with on time and you go longer anyway? All those people that you meet with, all these people where you have a sense that they would really benefit from just a little bit more time, because even a 90-minute session is an intensive session. If you have a sense that people could benefit more from just shaking the way you're working together up a little bit, then ask them, right? They already know you. They already like you. That's why they're still seeing you. They already have trust in you. So talk with them about, I've noticed sometimes we're going over time. I've noticed it feels like we don't ever have enough time to dive into things. Something I've been really thinking about is, if we were to have more time, more space together in our sessions to really get into something like X, right, whatever their topic is, whatever they're struggling with, I think we could really do some good work with that. Like, what would you think about that? And naturally, they might have some questions about, well, what does that mean? They will probably have questions about, well, what's that going to mean financially? Like, what would that change for how much I pay? But as long as you're prepared to answer those questions, so give some thought to that. If you're going to bring it up to your current clients, prepare for those questions and how you're going to answer. But just putting it out there, again, with these people who already know you, they're already working with you, and they see that you're proposing this from a, I want to help you perspective. Some of them will at least be willing to try it. I've had some people just try the 90-minute sessions and they're like, yeah, for work purposes, people who work from home, I should probably stick to the 60 minutes. And that's fine. I've had some people who have transitioned permanently to now we do 2-hour sessions instead of 1-hour sessions. So you can be as flexible with this as you like. But I'm curious for those who are here live, is that something that you have thought of before, of just asking your current clients? And if so, have you tried it? And if you haven't thought about that, or if you're thinking about that now and you're like, heck no, that sounds scary, what's coming up for you around that? Are you worried that there's going to be someone's going to reject your idea? Are you worried they're not going to be interested? Are you worried you're not going to know the answers to the questions that they might have? So let me know in the chat if that's something that's coming up for you, and I can walk you through maybe some different ways to handle that situation. But otherwise, again, this is just one other idea. So right now it's talking to your current clients and other ideas around sharing with other therapists. So whether you are a part of another therapist Facebook group. You all probably are. I know I'm a part of like 30 of them. Local groups, statewide groups, groups connected on different themes like brain spotting therapists, EMDR therapists, Gottman therapists. Like there are ways to put intensives out there. There are people who are looking for intensives, people who have a good connection with their client, but know that they're not trained in a specific modality or to work with a specific concern. And so they're looking for someone to do some adjunctive work so that they can do some good work with you and then come back and then they can continue their relationship with their client. So even just talking about, that service, letting people again know it exists and doing some collaborative healing could be really, really helpful. Yeah, that's a really good point. There are some group practices that either aren't set up to do intensives or they don't specifically want therapists operating that way. So that's a limitation of the group practice. So that's really exciting that you're getting ready to start your own. It's going to give you a lot more flexibility to do something that you want to do. So I'm very excited for you there. So even sharing, if you're leaving a group practice or an agency or wherever you're working from, those are at least some contacts that you have, people that you can let know, here's something I'm going to be doing in my own practice here. That's a way to let people know. Yeah, you can talk with your current client caseload about, I'm going to change how I'm working a little bit. And by standard, I'm moving everyone into 90-minute sessions. I think that's a really good idea because, again, when you can say, here's why I'm doing this, here's how I think it's going to just better benefit you, I think that's going to, it's going to help clients see that you care about them, that you are choosing to work in a way that is more effective. And then, yes, you can offer weekend intensives, especially for couples. Individuals will want to do that too for those who are really busy in their 9-to-5 jobs and have kids or things they have to do in the evenings. Like weekend intensives are great, but yeah, we got to think about marketing them really well. So talking with current clients, sharing with other therapists, and then really the piece that is important, I talked about the website a little bit, but I'm going to come back to that because I think that is one of the hugest pieces when it comes to marketing intensives. It is the number one thing that I lean on for marketing my intensives. So when it comes to putting this on your website, number one, I want you to think about having it very clearly demarcated. Like this is a whole separate service. This is what it's about. This is why I offer it. And then answer all those FAQs around what does it mean for cost? What does it mean for how often do I have to do these? What can I cover in these? And really just think about all these pieces I'm talking about so far of, has it even been difficult to fit therapy into your weekly schedule? Do you feel like it's taking you months to get to the thing that you really want to get to? Hitting all those things that, why is someone a perfect fit for an intensive? Because if you can speak to all of that, people are going to see this is exactly what I need. It might cost more upfront, but I see it as worth it, right? Because I can't fit therapy into my schedule. I haven't seen the results I've wanted so far. Maybe I just prefer to do a lot of work at once, or maybe it feels like in the couples situation, we feel like we've gotten way too far in this cycle, and if we don't do work now, I don't know where we're going to be. We don't have the time to do months of this work. We have to resolve some things now. So there's a lot of really good ways that on a whole separate page of your website, I know there are some people who have the, what's it called? Simple Practice has kind of a one-pager. I think you can make a different section about that, but if you have a multi-page website, like Squarespace is one of the most intuitive ones. I know there's ones like WordPress is a little bit more difficult. I think Wix is another one that's good for just kind of background search engine optimization stuff. But if you do have a multi-page website, have intensives be a whole different page of that to answer all those FAQs, to say why this is the thing that you really want, you really need, that's going to be most effective for you. Here's the benefit. What I have on my page is all of that breakdown of here's who it's perfect for, here's what you can expect, especially if we're doing My trauma intensive ones, those are a lot more fluid and flexible. People at this point are mostly booking 1 or 2 days at a time. Couples intensives, sometimes those are better to have structured of, are we doing a 1, 2, or 3 day? Are those back to back? Are those a Friday each week? Whatever that looks like. But breaking down, depending on how long we meet, here's what you can expect to kind of cover or gain from a 1 day versus a 2 day versus a 3 day. So thinking about all that different information there. And then, let me make sure I go here. So yeah, have a separate page, have that really clear messaging, answer all of those FAQs, and then really thinking about having a good web page, hitting all those pain points, answering all their questions. That's the bare minimum to like what you should have on your website. But you could have the perfect web page on intensives, and if no one finds you, it only matters so much, right? So we have to think about that search engine optimization that you've probably seen across lots of different Facebook pages about people saying, what the heck is SEO? How do you even do SEO? I bet it's warmer in Texas than here in the BNW, but Joshua, you probably know that. And so thinking through, like when it comes to search engine optimization, do you all have a sense of what that is, what it looks like? Is that complete like different language for you? I know it was for me initially, but it can be really scary for some people to think about this thing that we don't understand. Like if you weren't trained in this, you probably don't know what SEO is. So then you see things like people who pay monthly fees, like hundreds of dollars a month for someone to monitor their SEO, or someone pays a web designer $5,000 to optimize their website for SEO. I want to be the first to say, you do not have to do any of that. There are some very basic free SEO things that you can do so that people can really find you. Because as a quick, I listen to podcasts on SEO because it is complicated, but we have to have a good foundation on that. Like as a quick little task for you all to try to do, whether you're here live, whether you're catching the replay, I want you to open up a browser on your computer or on your phone and just search for whatever it is that you might want to do. If that's an EMDR intensive, if that's a couples intensive, whatever that might be, I want you to just do a quick Google, Bing, whatever browser, search engine you use, and just search for that. Because if you can find someone just based on couples intensive, EFT intensive, EMDR intensive, whatever it is, if you can find someone on that first page that's not like a training, learn how to do this, or something that's like for therapists to learn how to do that thing, if you can find them, that means they've done some really good SEO work. And that's more important. That is one of the most important things that I want you to take away is you've got to get those skills, those foundational skills on your website in your practice, because I've seen so many people just revise and reword their website and send out more letters and do more networking calls and it not benefit them, right? Like I do not want you again doing these unsustainable practices that are not going to help you actually get these things booked. But again, we know clients are looking for these services. Clients have searched for a brain spotting intensive, whether they said just that or whether they said brain spotting intensive Oregon or Washington, and then they find me because I have worked on my SEO really, really hard. I have never paid anyone to do that for me, but I learned the skills of how can the people who are already looking for me find me? Because that's the difference between all the networking that you'll do, all the flyers you'll post, all the social media content you'll make. It's only reaching so many people, but there are people who are never going to interact with those therapists that you've talked with, are never going to see that post on Facebook or Instagram, but they're going to go to Google and they're going to search, where can I do a couples intensive near me? And if your SEO is really on point, you've optimized not only your website, so doing like that keyword research, but if you've have a Google My Business, if you've searched for, if you've set up Google Search Console, so that you're really tracking and understanding all the best ways to, again, have people just find you organically, that is going to be the best way that you can market services like this. Because again, some clients do know they exist. You might have to play around with the different languaging, like especially for couples intensive, I see a lot of people search for like a couples retreat or a couples getaway or something like that. So it might be different depending on each state. Like that's why you're doing your local SEO keyword research. So what are people looking for near me? And even the very nitty-gritty details around, some people might be searching more for intensive couples therapy versus intensive couples therapy versus a couples therapy intensive. Like knowing what the people near you are looking for, even that small of a change can help you show up higher and higher on Google, which is ultimately what you want to do. So cannot stress enough, SEO is really, really important. If you don't know how to do some of those things, feel free to message me or ask questions here if you are here live, or again, if you're catching the replay. But some tasks that I'm saying that you should do: set up a Google My Business if you don't have one. Even if you plan to do things all virtually, you should definitely still have one. Making sure that you are doing keyword research. Now, if you do not know what that means, number one, treat Google as a keyword research platform. As we know, as we start typing things, like autofills, like, oh, you're probably searching for this. Like that itself is like, a keyword is not just one word. Sometimes it's 2 words. Sometimes it's 5 words. Like, what's an example? What is a couples intensive? That's 5 words. So do some of that keyword research. If you look at a resource called Uber Suggest, that's UBER Suggest, SUGGEST.com. They have a really good platform for where you can search for different keywords. Is that the difference between intensive couples therapy and couples intensive therapy? Like, what's going to be best found? Good SEO podcast. That's a good question. I haven't listened to one that's been one podcast all on SEO, but there are really good SEO, what am I trying to say? There's really good podcasts that are for private practice therapists that will have SEO speakers come speak quite frequently. So the ones that I know are All Things Private Practice. That's by someone whose name is Patrick. And he's had a few people on that will talk about SEO highlights. Another one is The Entrepreneurial Therapist. I think just recently, in the past week or two, she did one. I'm forgetting her name. She did one about SEO. She talked about a new therapist directory listing that's similar price to Psychology Today, but it's operated by SEO experts. So definitely those two, entrepreneurial therapists and All Things Private Practice. I've listened to some other ones that are for private practice therapists, but I can't think of any specific SEO podcasts that they've had. But podcasts like that are really, really helpful because, again, they're 30 to 45 minutes and they will walk you through different tips, like even what to do on a web page to make it SEO optimized, to make sure that it's loading faster, because we know all those different things are what Google is scanning and reading to see, is this a good website? Do we want to promote this more? So that's really good. So SEO, primarily I've learned about it through some podcasts. I've done a few group coaching programs where I've learned more and more about this. The reason I do not outsource it is because, number one, unless you have a huge marketing budget, it's going to be unaffordable to really outsource it. A lot of people I've seen are charging hundreds or thousands of dollars to do this. And I didn't have that when I was getting started. So that is always a thing that you can outsource. But also, I really like knowing the foundations of it, because then if I'm adding a new service or if I'm changing something significantly, then I know how to do that myself, as opposed to I have to go hire someone to do it again. And really SEO, because it is, you all might have heard, like a longer term game, you don't have to do it super frequently. So the last time I did a really big update was in January or February. And then 6-8 months later, in the past couple of weeks, I did a re-update just to look at, oh, it looks like actually people are searching for intensive EMDR and brain spotting as opposed to a brain spotting or EMDR intensive. So literally, again, just like the small switch of the words, that's not going to change, because when you're thinking about the keywords and how you're choosing that, like Google's analyzing trends of data. It's going to take time for trends of data to show updates. So it's not something that you need to do all the time. So that's the reason that I don't outsource, is it's very low task for me. It's not something I have to do super frequently. And I like feeling knowledgeable about that and feeling like I know exactly what's going on. I know how to determine the problem. I know how to fix that, and I can do it in like 5 to 10 minutes, as opposed to, don't get me wrong, I outsource stuff, but I outsource the stuff that I like doing less, or that I'm not as confident in, or things that are gonna move the needle in my business a little faster. So you can absolutely outsource SEO. If you do it, I want you to be careful about kind of where you're putting your trust and your investment in it, because people who are saying, let me revamp your SEO and get you on the first page of Google in 3 months, that's not always possible for people. A lot of people have gotten scammed that way. So with really good SEO, learning some foundations yourself, you can get yourself on the first page or 2 or even 3 of Google. So just a different piece to consider. But again, SEO is kind of the foundation if you really do want to market any of your services, but especially therapy intensives, so that you get people just booking calls literally while you sleep. I have had that happen where this past week alone, I had 3 people book consultations for intensives. They found me by Google, no word of mouth, no because I posted it somewhere, just because they searched for a couples intensive, an EMDR intensive, whatever it is that they were looking for. And because I have a scheduler on my website. If you don't have that, that can be a really helpful, that was an investment for me to get a HIPAA compliant scheduler, because I don't have Simple Practice. I know that those of you who do, you have an option to do that, but that is one of the ways where I found it to be really helpful, because when you're talking about selling services that are premium in nature, including a premium fee, you want to also think about your website giving them like VIP experience, right? So therapists who have, here's my email, or here's this contact form, or call me, but then you're playing voicemail tag, or it takes a while to get back to email. I want you to think about how that's kind of losing you clients, because some people don't want to put in the effort. But for those who see this service that's $3,500 or more or less, they see that and they see to at least set up the consultation is as easy as click book a consultation now, and then they pull up, they get to see my schedule. Then they just pick a time that works for them, and they know that that's their time to talk about it. They didn't have to call and email back and forth. Like, that is another way that you are showing, like, I am thinking about how to support you as best as possible from the point that we initiate contact to the point that we finish, whatever that means. If that's just the consultation, if that's moving forward with an intensive. But SEO is the foundation, and then think about talking with your current clients about it. Just see who's interested. Think about sharing it with other therapists. And then, again, website. So I will leave a few minutes if there are any questions that you all have. I would love to answer them here. Again, if you are watching the replay of this, either comment on the video or feel free to direct message me and let me know that. But if there's not any questions, then I will go ahead and just wrap up for today. As always, if there are questions, feel free to put questions in the Facebook group, or you can message me. Or if you are interested in learning more about other ways that I support people, like building up the SEO, adding intensives to the website, kind of working through some of the money mindset and imposter syndrome when it comes to intensives, because that's a huge thing. Bye, Angelica. If you're thinking you're about needing more help with that, let me know. That's something that I support therapists with, either one-on-one or in my group program. Joshua, when I'm planning my intensive, do I work through a specific program of content? Good question. So there's lots of different ways to do that. I know, especially with couples therapy, I've seen people do either like a hold me tight program, or I know Gottman has a few different ones that he kind of offers and works through. I guess they work through. But I don't really, like when a couple comes to me for an intensive, or even an individual comes to me for an intensive, what I'm doing with them is really talking about what are their goals, what kind of expectations can we set, because we only have 2 days, or we only have 3 days, or we only have 4 hours, or whatever that might be. And I'm planning what we're going through around that. So I do a lot more like experiential work with some exercises like prepped on the side. So I've got like EFT worksheets about emotions and attachment and things like that. And if needed, if we're stuck in some experiential work, then I'll whip those out and be like, let's go through this exercise real quick. But otherwise, I'm kind of really just following what's the goal here. Part of the intensive is doing more assessment around that. Like, what is your cycle? Where do you get stuck? And then we're just kind of doing as much work as we can with that, so that people can start having different conversations, start expressing things in a different way, for individuals to do some processing to feel different ways. But there's no right or wrong way about it. I've seen it done both, where people have a program that they work through, or just what's our goal given the stuck point that you two have been in. So yeah, that's a good question though. All right, any last questions from anyone? And again, feel free to message me even after I hop off of this. But otherwise, I will let you all go. I know that you all are busy. It might be lunchtime for some of you. So thank you so much for coming today live if you were able to make it. Convince people to pay that much at once. Nice. Yeah, really it's all about marketing it. So for me, what I have on my page about intensives is I break down how it's actually saving them money in the long term. And it's also saving them a headache, because I want you to think about what are things in real life, so outside of therapy, that people pay more for and why. Like people pay $100 more on an airplane for a seat with extended leg room. People pay $400 more for their fast passes at Disney because they don't want to wait in line all day long. Like people pay more for the benefit of getting through something more quickly, having more comfort, so less stress, less anxiety, less trauma, whatever that might be, to struggle with that not as long. So I literally break down some math on my website about, if we were to work weekly together, you might pay this much a month, but because other stuff comes up in life and sometimes topics change and then other things come up, like we're just not actually getting to it. So we're actually meeting for this many months, roughly, and you're paying this much. Or you can pay technically a little more of like a monthly fee, and we can work through this in half a day or a day or two or whatever your program is. Like showing people that math. I've never had someone say no to that. They're like, that makes perfect sense. Actually, yeah, I'd rather feel better faster. We want to get over this more quickly. So it's all about how you market it. There are ways that you can work with people on payment plans, but I want you to do what works best for you. So in other words, don't have it so that you give the full service and you haven't been paid for it. So if people in like a couples intensive, for example, need to make a deposit 2 months ahead of time, and then at the time of the intensive, they can pay the rest of the deposit, then great. But don't try to make it this extended thing where ultimately you don't get your money, because we want to protect your time and your hard work too. I don't think this would work for couples therapy, but for individual therapy, I've seen some therapists do care credit. So that's like a medical credit card that people will use for the things that insurance isn't covering. So that's an option for people to look into as well. Any last questions? Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and hop off. Again, if there are more questions, you're so welcome, Joshua. Thanks for making it. Any more questions, feel free to leave those questions on this recording or let me know, send me a DM, and I'm happy to answer them as soon as I can. Thank you all. Hope you have a good rest of your day, good rest of your week, and hope you all get some rest in before, I know next week is going to be busy time for a lot of people for different reasons. So just take care of yourselves. Hope you all get some rest. And thanks for coming today. Bye.